Hello everyone, my name is Leon Daniel Rose and I'm from Canada. I've been in Korea teaching English for the last 18 years. I came when I was 20 years old and I've been here a long time. Today I'm going to speak on why new second language speakers should be encouraged to speak poorly. Now that title is a little bit not perfect. What I'm saying here is in the Korean school system, they try to manufacture gap-filled speech or predefined speaking. What I'm saying is there's an important part where students should be able to test or try to use the language on their own. Warning, caution, danger. Remember, this presentation is about new L2 learners, new second language learners. My wife made me put that in there because it wasn't always clear about the group I was talking about. What I'm going to do is read the slide and then slowly afterwards give a simple explanation of what the slide means. The main goal of foreign language learning with new L2 students is the development of communicative competence with an emphasis on the oral skills of listening and speaking. In the classroom, young learners should be supported in developing a repertoire of vocabulary and fixed expressions to be used in role play and topic-based situations that serve as a basis for further learning and language use. Especially at the beginning, speaking in this context is usually reproductive and imitative, giving young learners the possibility to practice language patterns and to master basic communicative situations such as, for example, presenting themselves with the help of simple rote-learned phrases. This goal is also reflected in English textbooks for these young learners, in which the majority of speaking activities aim at the production of guided, accurate output. What that means is very simple. Your books are looking for your students to give them a simple answer. They want the simple, right answer. If you ask any Korean student, how are you? They will all reply, I'm fine, and you? There's many ways to answer that question, but the school system wants, I'm fine, and you. Although it is generally accepted that interaction in the target language can facilitate the acquisition process, there's increasing evidence that rote-learned phrases are also hindering L2 learners' learning. Opportunities for young learners to creatively experiment with the language and go beyond the fixed dialogues are rare in the early foreign language classroom. Students are being given vocabulary to study, but they are not practicing or playing or using the vocabulary in new ways. They're only being forced to reply properly. This was confirmed by Rosemond and Mitchell, Lee Hae-won, who compared learning cultures in British and Korean early foreign language classrooms. They came to the conclusion that learner interaction in both contexts was restricted to the use of prefabricated expressions, and that creatively involved either selected of prefabricated exponents from material already practiced or oral gap filling, inserting one's own lexiconal choice into the prefabricated grammar pattern. All that means is they were given a sentence. How's the weather? It's dee-dee-dee-dee. It's rainy, it's snowy, it's sunny, it's hot. All the students were doing were learning the vocabulary and inserting the vocabulary in as the answer. They weren't playing with the language, they weren't molding it or adapting it in other ways. In an extensive study of German primary school learners in English, Gabby Engel and Groot Wilkin found that after 2 years of instruction, the children could use prefabricated expressions in conversational interactions, but they often had difficulties in constructing their own sentences. So, leave it to the Germans. When they studied their second language learner, they found, of course, the language learners could give you the, how are you, I'm fine, and you. But when you went outside and tried to use conversation that wasn't studied, they fell apart. The students couldn't form their own sentences. in a combined cross-sectional and longitudinal study that examined the oral performance of young German learners of English at primary school, John Benjamin came to similar conclusions. Here, the children's speech production was also characterized by the use of single words and formulaic sequences. So, they would answer the question, I'm fine, and you? Or they would give one-word answers. They didn't know how to make the full sentence. So how's the weather? If they forgot the formula, sunny. How are you? Happy. They couldn't make sentences. All they could give was the vocabulary they learned because no one was teaching them to use the vocabulary in a non-normal way. Referring to similar findings in the review of research on early foreign language learning, Peter Eldebros, Richard Johnstone, and Angelika Kubenek highlight the value of helping children progress beyond prefabricated utterances. All that means is they found the value of not teaching A-B or gap fill or trying to answer. Let the students find their own way. Let them use the language as they can. They will make mistakes, but eventually they will learn to get better. As the development of fluency in basic speaking competencies requires more than just producing memorized chunks of language, learners need opportunity to use language spontaneously under what Scott Thorburn calls real operating conditions, in order to progress in their acquisition of the target language and become truly communicatively competent. Basically, all this says is you have to let the students play in their language. Try to use it. They will fail and they will do better. In this context, Engel and Grew-Wilkin also point that using the target language creatively may be an important motivational factor for new language learners. In order to keep the joy, enthusiasm, and ambition of new language learners alive, it is important to provide them with more opportunities to discover and experiment with the language, and to give more attention to being creative with vocabulary and opportunities to use the language in unorthodox ways. I'm from Canada, and my native language is English. But for 12 years, I learned French as a second language. And it was done in the classroom, and it was very dry. I can have basic conversations in French, but when I meet a French person and we go off script, I can't reply perfectly to them. I could ask, where's the bar? How much is this? How do I get to? But when we started talking about politics, or when we started talking about their family, I would fall apart because my only learning was done in a classroom in a strict way. If you teach a secondary language in a formulaic way, L2 learners will struggle when the formula isn't present or being followed. All of those other slides lead to these three sentences. If you teach in a formulaic way, as in, what's your name? My name is Dee. How are you? I'm fine, and you? When those formulas aren't present, the students won't be able to respond in sentences. They'll be quiet, they'll try to say one-word sentences, but ultimately they fall apart. If a new L2 learner is speaking in a rote-learned phrase well to a native speaker, it creates problems in communication because of misunderstood ability. Misunderstood ability is incredibly important. If you memorize, there are 5 people in my family, my mother, father, brother, sister, and me, when talking to a native speaker, they will think your level is higher than it is, and they will respond to you speaking a higher level of English, which will cause miscommunications. You will not understand as well, they will not understand as well. So speaking to your ability and not memorizing is actually helpful in communication. Make mistakes in English. This is what I believe is missing from the Korean curriculum of English. They're being forced into formulas. They're not getting the chance to use the language creatively, to play games with it, to interact with it. Remember, allow yourself to fail. You're not supposed to be good at this yet. English is a lifelong learning, or any second language is lifelong learning. You will start as a beginner, you will get better, and you will make mistakes along the way. You don't have to be perfect. Failing is okay. Most English speakers will not be offended when someone makes an effort to speak English, but does not do so perfectly. English speakers are generally happy to help when asked and just appreciate the person's efforts to communicate. We understand by what you say your level, and we may not speak your mother tongue, but we will do our best to accommodate. You shouldn't worry. Never make fun of someone who speaks broken English. It means they know another language. This is very simple. Everybody has a mother tongue. Everybody has an L1 language. If you're making a mistake in a language that you're trying to share with me, I can understand. You know another language. There's a joke we have. What do you call someone who speaks 2 languages? Bilingual. What do you call someone who speaks 3 languages? Trilingual. What do you call someone that speaks 1 language? American. Now that is sort of, we understand. You are an educated person, you're fluent in all language, even small mistakes aren't important to us. We understand. As language facilitators, we assume that foreign language students are normally quite shy and scared to speak because they are afraid of making mistakes. We therefore encourage them to speak, even if they make mistakes. After all, speaking practice is more important than making mistakes. Use your English regardless of your level. It will get better. We understand. Mistakes have the power to turn you into something better than you were before. When you make a mistake, you will realize you will fix your mistake. You will get better. A mistake should be your teacher, not your attacker. A mistake is a lesson, not a loss. It is a temporary necessary detour, not a dead end. This is important. This is what L2 speakers should try. This is your mission. Try. Fail. Try again. Maybe fail again. Try again. Eventually, success. Through trial and error, you'll get better at it. You will understand. You will learn from your mistakes. Ignore rules and structure. Above all, try. As your vocabulary gets bigger, you'll speak better. As your grammar gets better, you'll speak better. As you understand sentence structure, you'll speak better. But you must try at every point of your language acquisition. It's not where you start, but where you finish that counts. And the expert in anything was once a beginner. We understand nobody starts at the top. You will eventually get there if you try hard. That's it. I'm done.
accuracy보다는 fluency, 너무 정확성만 강요하지 말고 또 유창성을 또 encourage하라는 그런 또 같은 맥락이라고 생각하고요. I think it's like we encourage the students, especially the beginner students, we encourage the fluency rather than the accuracy. But what I think is, yes, what you say is what we all agree. 말씀하신 거를 우리 아마 대부분 다 동의한다고 생각하지만 the more important thing is what is your suggestion, then how can you encourage your students to, to try, and sometimes they are afraid of the fail, but how can we encourage them to do so? So what we want to know is your suggestion and what is your way to help them. 중요한 것은 이제 본인이 캐나다에서 배운 것도 말씀하셨지만 이제 초급 학습자들에게 지금 they have limited knowledge about the second language, so it's not easy to help them to encourage their making creative sentences. Then how can we help them? One thing is I cannot see the more concrete way from your thesis. 이 논문에서 그렇다면 이렇게 이미 너무 초급학습자들이 vocabulary나 구문이 너무나도 이렇게 제한되어 있는데 어떻게 그 학습자들에게 크리에이티브하게 도와줄 수 있는지 좀 그런 구체적인 방안을 말씀해 주셨으면 우리 영어 교육 학자들이나 선생님들에게 사실은 더 도움이 될 것 같고, and as you know, some students make mistakes, and if we do not correct them, we have the fossilization. 또 어떤 초급학습자들의 그 실수를 교사가 적절하게 커렉트해주지 않으면 fossilization, 화석화가 돼서 그 실수가 이제 고착화가 된다는 그런 연구도 많이 있는데, 그렇다면 how can you help them, to try their creative sentences, to make their creative sentences, and we avoid their fossilization. And lastly, my question is, we need to have the empirical study. 마지막으로는 it's like a literature review when I understand. 지금 이제 그 과거의 다른 내용, 다른 나라의 내용들을 한 것 같은데 좀 우리 교육학계에서는 empirical study. 그렇다면 there are two groups, and for the first group, you encourage their students to make try the creative sentences and sometimes make a failure, but you encourage them to do. And then the other group, you do the rote learning. 또 다른 그룹은 뭐 기존에 하던 대로 했다면 실제로 어떤 is there any kind of effect about your teaching method? Then it will be a very helpful study for all of the English teachers and for us. 네. 그래서 여기에 대해서 좀 실제적으로 실험 연구가 혹시 있었다면 우리 가르치는 많은 영어 선생님들에게 굉장히 도움이 많이 될 것 같습니다.
A child starts off saying mama, dada. Eventually they get their grammar. Obviously that's their native tongue, so the fixing of their sentence structure will come earlier and quicker. But with an L2 language, as they understand the grammar better, as they're taught sentence structure, they will naturally bring themselves out of the mistakes they've made early. I find the biggest problem with Koreans is the lack of trying. They are not taught to try with the language. It doesn't matter. This past weekend, there was a famous fight in America. An Irishman fought a Russian. The Irishman, fluent in English, of course. It's his mother tongue. The Russian, it was an L2 language. And after the fight, he had an interview. He made every grammar mistake you could make, especially pronouns. I country, me family. It doesn't matter. He was talked about as how eloquent he spoke. Everyone understood, regardless of the grammar mistakes. We understood he was an L2 speaker, and he was applauded for trying his best and doing so hard. As far as the study, you're right. It's hard to get a group of students the same level. It's not an exact study, could never actually be, but I do agree with you. But I find the results of rote learning in the Korean school system aren't getting the proper result.
So what about the first question?
Yeah.
I asked a way to help and encourage the students to speak their own, make their own sentences, because we all know that it's very important to help them encourage their fluency, but it's not, as you say, it's not that easy. Could you talk about any ways or your suggestions about teaching?
Sure. And one of the things we do in my school is the teacher will stand in front of a television. And behind the television is a couple of thousand pictures. And the pictures are changing. And the students, you break them into two teams, team 1, team 2. And whatever the picture is behind me, they're not allowed to say that word, but they can say every other word they can possibly get to have me guess. So if they say hot, danger, danger, water, fire, okay? If they say homework, loves homework, classroom, maybe it's a teacher, I think, but they're using the language, they're using the vocabulary they have to be understood. Eventually, when you play it long enough, you require it to be spoken in sentences.
Something like the plays and the
Yeah.
games.
Exactly.
Exactly, that's
So,
right.
We're just trying to get them to activate the language they know. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for this presentation. And I think this your you want to talk about just the what the fluencies would be the end would not be end. So our teachers will want to understand how it is okay to make mistakes, but how can we encourage the way or any secret your way?
Well, it's the same thing. I don't believe so much that fluency will come. It may never come, but basically I'm arguing more that rote memorization or gap fill or chunk learning isn't making any steps towards fluency. They have to be able to play with the language. Now, the problem is, if you're a middle school teacher, you get students that came from elementary school. And if it wasn't followed in elementary school, how can it be followed in middle school? You have to start it off young, in yuchiwans or in kindergartens. It's not as simple an answer. If I had a simple answer, I'd be rich. Everyone would come to me. I would have so many students. But my main point is that students need to practice and speak regardless of their level.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you.
고맙습니다.